In 1958, Egypt and Syria merged to form the United Arab Republic, clamping down on both Israeli borders simultaneously. The real problem? Mossad is completely blind to the north. Syria's lockdown surveillance state makes it impossible to map troop movements. To breach a state that's secure, you might assume they'd send in a hardened commando. Instead, they tapped an Egyptian-born Jew named Eli Cohen. He had a prior arrest record in Egypt and, at the time he was recruited, was working a remarkably quiet civilian job translating documents. But that mundane background was exactly what Mossad was looking for. They didn't need a soldier who thought like a soldier. To infiltrate a society on high alert, they needed a ghost, someone who could seamlessly fade into the background without tripping any alarms. Cohen did bring a specific technical arsenal to the table. Growing up in the international hub of Alexandria, he became a linguistic chameleon, mastering several languages and perfectly adopting regional dialects of both Egypt and Syria. Yet his greatest asset was psychological. Cohen was incredibly charismatic. He possessed a rare ability to act as a human magnet, effortlessly commanding trust and genuine affection from almost anyone he spoke to. After accepting the mission and marrying his wife, Nadia, he established his cover story. He told his family he'd been hired as a low-level purchaser for the Defense Ministry, which required frequent trips to Europe. To his wife and his friends, he was just a traveling suburban dad. To engineer the perfect confidant for his enemies, Cohen had to inflict a flawless, years-long deception on the people who loved him most. Intelligence agencies build covers in stages. In 1961, Mossad sent Cohen to Buenos Aires to establish his new persona, Kamel Amin Thabet, a wealthy Syrian expatriate. Operating in South America, Thabet threw lavish parties and aggressively networked his way into the upper echelons of Arab high society. This beta test proved the persona was bulletproof. If he could earn the complete trust of the Syrian military elite in exile, Kamel Amin Thabet was ready for Damascus. Looking at this image of central Damascus, you get a sense of the power structure Cohen infiltrated. Arriving in 1962 with glowing letters of recommendation from his contacts in Argentina, he rented an apartment directly across from the presidential palace. Here, he lived out his first reality. Thabet became a Syrian superstar. He was wealthy, charming, constantly fending off marriage proposals from wealthy families, and deeply trusted by top military officials. He leveraged that access to pull off an astonishing intelligence coup, securing a highly restricted, private tour of Syria's top-secret military bunkers on the Golan Heights. But every 6 months, he traveled back to his second reality. He would shed the billionaire playboy persona, return to this anonymous life in Tel Aviv, and quietly resume his role as an unassuming husband and father. The worlds almost collided when his wife found a hidden envelope with a Damascus address. Confronted by Nadia, Cohen acted completely baffled, effortlessly deflecting her suspicions to protect the mission. He was carrying the weight of being an enemy VIP while simultaneously pretending to be a bored civilian. The psychological pressure required to maintain a seamless firewall between those two lives was immense. That firewall collapsed in early 1965. Syrian authorities uncovered his operation, likely by tracking his frequent radio transmissions to Tel Aviv, or because an Egyptian official recognized his face from Alexandria. Back in Israel, his family learned the truth in the most jarring way possible. Tuning into international news broadcasts, they discovered that the man they thought was buying supplies in Europe was actually a master spy facing death in an enemy capital. Despite international pleas and frantic backdoor negotiations by Mossad, the Syrian government made an example of him. Eli Cohen was publicly executed in Damascus in May 1965. The moment his two parallel realities finally collided, neither could survive. The spy and the family man were destroyed at once. Yet, the intelligence he gathered yielded a massive strategic payoff 2 years later, during the 1967 Six-Day War. Cohen systematically mapped out Syrian fortifications. He advised the Syrian military to plant eucalyptus trees over their bunkers to provide shade for the soldiers, which ultimately gave the Israeli military exact targeting coordinates to secure a swift, decisive victory. To this day, Cohen's body has never been returned to his family. But more than 50 years after his execution, Mossad quietly managed to recover this, his personal wristwatch, and brought it home to Israel. Eli Cohn mapped the intelligence that secured his nation's northern border. To do it, he had to entirely erase himself, leaving behind only the ticking artifacts of a phantom.